for me. So she said, Natasha, so she said, she just convinced me. She said, you gotta come. This is the first time and blah, 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 blah. I said, look, I have a job. I have to do my job. And so she said, nope, no excuse. She's like a used car salesman, right? Just convincing me and said, you got to do it. So I changed all of my plans just to be here today. So and she's going to have to make up for my salary, too. But it really was. It was good because I would have done the same thing, right? I mean, the way we talked to mom and daddy, we did the same thing, right? I mean, I used to try to convince them they didn't agree with me most of the time. but I did try to convince them of a lot of stuff. You know, first of all, Sarah, stand up. So Sarah bugs the clock. You know, she does. She called me 1,000 times and you ain't paid your money. You haven't done this. And I want you to do this. But if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be here right now. That's right. That's absolutely great. We love you to death. Don't do this no more. No. I know that's right. But she has done an absolutely fabulous job. And then I also want to thank my daughters, you know, who are absolutely great. I love them to death. They stay on my case. If I twist my ankle, they call. They say, what's wrong with you? Why you still running? You know? So I love them to death. So both of you guys stand up. I got all these beautiful grandkids who I have to have a come to Jesus talk with sometimes, but you know they don't know how to act sometimes, so we'll work this out, right? Okay, y'all go sit down. Come back. You want to take? George got this picture thing going on. So come on, man. Come here, man. This is my little man here. He just got his hair cut. Y'all notice? Yeah, good looking man too. He gonna be a scholar, no doubt about it. Like the two of them, no doubt about it. So everything I was starting to talk about was written in Natasha's voice. So everything that I wrote, and I just changed it on the plane to try to, hook it up, make it sound halfway decent. But I just want to say a couple things. One is just about our grandparents, which many of you have no idea, no knowledge about. But let me tell you one thing about our grandmother. And Alice remembers. Her name was Lucille. So she got Alice and I together one time when we were really young. None of the rest of you were around. And this is one time when Mom was having one of y'all. But she said, Butch and Alice, one thing I want y'all to always remember is that you have each other and you look out for each other. That's one thing she said. Absolutely, and don't do anything different. And then she said, let me tell you something else about this word that people call niggas. She said, let me tell you about this. That a nigga can be white, black, green, or yellow. And a nigga is a no good person, so don't ascribe to that. Those are the two things I remember about my grandmother. There's one more thing. She was absolutely beautiful, by the way. Lucille was like absolutely beautiful. She could cook. So one time she came up, I forgot which one y'all she was having. But one time she came up, and we ate grits every single day for a week. Grits and pork chops and gravy, grits and liver and gravy, grits and bacon and eggs, and grits. I do not eat grits today because of my grandmother, right? But she was absolutely beautiful. But the other thing about our other grandmother, Daddy's mother, that I remember is that she had this long, beautiful hair. That's the one thing I remember about her. And we never were able to really develop a relationship because she died really young. But she had this long, beautiful hair. And the other thing I remember is she giving me a bath in these tin tubs, that you pour water in, right? I mean, it was really just absolutely fabulous. So those are the two main things that I remember about our grandparents. And if it wasn't for them, of course, we wouldn't be here today celebrating. So I just give a hand to our grandparents and great grandparents. about me and Alice. So when we were growing up, and a couple of you were around, but when we were growing up, Mrs. Taylor, people remember Mrs. Taylor, right? Mrs. Taylor was taking care of us, you know, because Mom and Dad had to work. So they were taking care of us. So this one day, they were building a septic tank, you know, about 10, 15, 20 feet deep, right? And so it had rained about several days before that. You know, it just rained profusely, right? And so the septic tank that they were building, this hole, it was just a hole in the ground that they were building, you know, filled up with water. So we went over, and it was really hot that day, so we actually went over to babysit. Alice fell in the hole. She fell in the hole and was going to drown. But Howard Taylor caught her and pulled her up. So if you guys ever see Howard Taylor, do you remember this, Alice?
I remember that.
Right.
We ain't supposed to, but.
Right, I'm telling you, it's one thing I remember about Howard Taylor. He pulled Alice up out of the water, and if it was not for him, none of her grandkids would be here. Many of you would not be here today because of Howard Taylor. So when you see Howard Taylor, give him a hug because he has actually saved our family's life. Right? So just remember that. I'll remember that to this day and for the rest of my life about Howard. How many of you know Howard Taylor? Yeah, a few people. And so just go. Is he still alive?
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, that was one of the hallmarks of our family and our life. But let me talk about mother and father just for a minute. You know, because, you know, I really developed a really, really, really close relationship with Dad, you know, during the last year of his life, right? Because, you know, they were lying to us about, you know, bunch of stuff. So I said, wait a minute, it's not working, you know? So let's go take this situation over and find out what's going on, you know, with the cancer and all that stuff. So, you know, we had a lot of opportunity to talk a lot, you know. And one thing everyone should know here, said the one thing that he said, you know what? I am really happy with my life. I am super happy because I have, you know, X number of kids, how many, 10? We have 10 kids, and none of them are in jail, and all of them are happy. And I'm sure he said that before you guys. He said, all of them happy. He said, I've done what I could do. There's nothing else I can do. You know, now if you also know how I am too, right? That we used to argue all the time. On purpose, by the way. We used to argue all the time on purpose. So the last argument that we had, and Mama just fell out, right? So I had to go to him because he was feeling down. So the last argument we had, I forgot what it was about, but he got so mad, he jumped out of the chair and tried to get me, right? He couldn't though, you know, but he just fell out. But, you know, we just had such a great time to discuss life and what was happening, and I mean, he felt really good. So when he passed away, I was not unhappy. I wasn't. I was really glad, you know, that he didn't have to suffer anymore. But believe it or not, our mother, and your grandmother was a true patriarch of our family. She is what really held our family together. You know, I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Our mother worked hard, you know, worked day jobs, night jobs, to try to keep our family together and to support us. You know, and I'll never forget, you know, everything that she did. So when I was in, just to give you a story, when I was in elementary school, and none of you know this. So when I was in elementary school, I was in the 4th or 5th grade. I think I was in the 5th grade. And and I'm still not smart, but I was really not smart. You know, then, and so they wanted to hold me back a year. You know, in the 5th grade, and I wasn't going to middle school, right? So they wanted to hold me back. And so my mother came to me and said, sit me down, she said, what do you want to do? I'm in the 5th grade. And she asked me, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay here, or do you want to go to middle school? And I said, I want to go to middle school with my friends, right? I mean, that's the natural thing. So she said, okay, and I'm going to go talk to them. They're going to put you in middle school. And you know what? I went to middle school. Now, they put me in special ed for the first year. but that's another story, right? You know, but she fought for me to go to middle school because that's what I wanted to do. And she knew I had the potential to do it. You know, and I mean, you guys could probably tell tons of stories about Mama, but that she was a true strength in our family. That held our family together. So let's give both of them a really great round of applause. You know, so throughout my life, I've had clearly challenges and support from my family, you know, but the one thing I remember about Dad in particular is, and Sarah really kind of pushed this too, was when I got this degree, you know, which really didn't mean a whole lot to me, to be very honest with you, but it meant more to Daddy and Mama than it did to me, because I didn't care. You know, I really didn't. I mean, I got to a point in my life where I was doing it for me, you know, but they were just so proud, you know, of me getting this degree. And then Sarah had to push the issue and do this whole event, you know. And I remember, the one thing I remember about this event was your son coming up to me, Alice, coming up to me and saying, well, Uncle Butch, does that mean you can operate on people? No, I don't think so. You know? I remember, it's just little things that you remember that are really so significant that makes a part of your life. You know, but just a couple of things. You know, and actually I really appreciate what Sarah did by bringing us all together. It was supposed to be a surprise. It wasn't a surprise, right? You know, wasn't it supposed to be a surprise? Oh.
You get old.
Oh, okay. I know I'm old, you know, and the nice thing is about being old. But you know, but my father and mother would be so proud of you, of Major. Everybody knows Major is pursuing his doctorate degree, right? So let's give him an honor. I had written in this thing, and I tried to memorize it on the plane while I was drinking wine, too, so that didn't help, right? I fly way too much but anyways, one of the things that I said when I was writing this to try to keep my thoughts together was our mother and father would be so proud of their children, of their grandchildren, you know, and the great-grandchildren, so it would be unbelievable. So just think of what we have. We have people who have PhDs, who have bachelor's degrees, who have associate degrees, who are singers, who are artists, who are, you know, just, I mean, a preacher. Where's the preacher? Oh, okay. I was going to give a sermon, but I thought I didn't want to overshadow it. But, and Joyce actually just got her something, right? What'd you get?
Good one, too.
I did my first sermon. I did
Real
mine
good.
September 20th.
So let's give you a hand. Hey, they came to visit me in Boston, and you know, I'm not that crazy about people, but I really enjoyed both of them being there. We had a really great time, and I'm glad they came because I'm there by myself. You know, so I'm a loner most of the time, right? So, but we really had a great time. We went to some great restaurants, and if any of you want to come, don't. No, but we had a great time. I really, and you guys were supposed to come. Gloria. But they copped out at the end. But anyway, you know, really, I just want one last thing I want to say is that we should really think about developing a scholarship fund under the name of our mother and father. You know, and just so that we can help our youth that are coming up, not with a whole bunch of money, but maybe $500.